Yo, 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 what's goody though? How's everybody doing out there? This is Daryl Turner, the purpose driven, quiet beast life coach. All right, so I'm a little nervous. And the reason why I'm nervous is because this is my very first podcast, doing a podcast about what I believe in. And what I believe in is really transforming your life using some of the things that you've gone through to inspire and motivate you to become a better version of yourself. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I know a lot of you guys don't know who I am, right? You don't know why I got into this arena when it comes to coaching or when it comes to wanting to help people to the best of my ability. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. The reason why I got started is there's something called loss, and loss happens when you lose something or someone of importance to you, right? And when I was younger, I was married, naive, should I say, right? So when I was married, I really didn't take my marriage as serious as I should have. And I think a lot of us could kind of empathize with that, right? Like you take things for granted. You take your family dynamic for granted. You take your wife for granted. You just assume that because you're married, everything is what it is, right? Everything will be just fine. I did all the big things, right? Like I got on my knee, I proposed, right? Like those happy feelings came and those happy feelings went after a while because again, took the marriage for granted. And one of the things I can honestly say was things just don't happen just to happen. There are no coincidences in life. Things are lined up a certain way so that we can really figure out who we truly are as people. And because I took my life for granted at a particular point in time, it allowed for me to search within. Who am I? Who is Daryl Turner? I think if I would have stayed in that marriage at that particular time, I wouldn't have truly figured out who I was. But as time goes on and you realize that you weren't the best version of yourself at that time, you still struggle trying to figure out who you are. And so as life continues, you start making mistake after mistake after mistake. And after a while, you understand that there's a series of events that just continue to happen. There's a pattern that's starting to form. There are addictions. You don't even realize there are addictions as you're going through this, right? So one of the things I had to realize was this pattern of things continually happening over and over again, over and over again. Why do I keep running into the same brick wall? I had to ask myself that. And ultimately, really what it boiled down to was I wasn't willing to put in the work, right? I wasn't willing to look at my past and really heal from some of the things that I went through, some of those past traumas. I wanted to just brush those things off as if they never happened. I wanted to just sweep them under the rug as if they never happened. But unfortunately, it's not a good thing, especially when you're trying to figure out who the best version of you is. And so ultimately, going through that marriage, going through the despair, going through the heartache, going through the pain. I remember, here's a quick story about that. Once me and my wife was separated, I remember being so sick from fighting for my marriage. Once I realized that everything was going down the drain, I realized that I wasn't eating, that my body didn't feel the same. And so I went into this depression. And if you know anything about depression, there's heartache there, there's heart pains there. You really don't pay attention to what you're eating. You just want to find something that makes you feel good. But what I realized was I was getting sick. Literally, I was getting sick. I remember this one time I started building fluid up in my chest, like right around my areolas. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor was really worried. The doctor said, man, I don't know where this tissue is, why this tissue is building in your chest. But what I have to do is I have to do a mammogram. And silly me, I'm like, mammogram? That's for women. That's not for men. What's going on with this mammogram stuff? He said, yes, unfortunately, there's tissue built up in your left breast, sir. And we have to figure out if it's cancerous. And when I tell you, there was a scare that went over me that I can't even communicate with you guys like how I felt at that time. It was. So I went to the doctor. I'm sitting in this room at the hospital, excuse me, at the doctor's office. I'm sitting in this room and it's all these older women there, like all these older women, and it's just me, right? And so this lady said to me, she said, well, what are you doing here? Is your mother here? I was like, aha, yes, I can use that as an excuse. I said, yeah, my mom's here. She's right in the back. And she was like, oh, well, how long, what's going on? And I said, well, she had some tissue built up in her chest and blah, 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 blah. Knowing I was talking about me. But not long after that, the doctor came out, or the nurse came out. She said, Daryl Turner? I was like, oh, snap. This lady looked directly at me. She was like, Daryl Turner, come on, it's time to go back. And I was like, oh, my mom must be ready. So it's time for me to go back to check on her. But when I went in there, I didn't know what to expect. And they put me in the middle of this machine, and they put this not metal, but this, magnetic jacket over me, and just exposed one part of my chest. And the machine started kind of pressing against my chest, and it was cold. But that being said, afterwards, lucky me, there was no cancer there. And I was super excited about that. But this is all part of why I started doing the work, because I truly understood that couple things. Number one, I wasn't willing to do the work until this point. Number two, I had to forgive myself, right? And number three, I had to forgive those individuals who affected who I am as a person in a negative way. So there's something that I have to tell you guys. When you really think about the people in your life who had an effect on your life, you got to think about the things you learned from those people or those events. I'm not even just going to say people, I'm going to say events. When those events happened, how did you react? How did that make you feel? I want you to think about that. If you are a person who's looking to get better in life, try to find out who you are in life. Truly understand that you cannot heal unless you start looking at those people who have influenced you, or those events that has influenced that mindset. And so those are some of the things I had to figure out. Is who was it that influenced my negative mindset? What event happened that influenced my negative mindset? And so as I'm learning this over time, I'm also really starting to learn a new version of me. And when you continue to learn a new version of you, you typically start to fall back into some of the things that made you feel good in the past, right? Like it just don't happen overnight. This takes work. And the work says that you are not ready to become who God truly wants you to be. I had to realize that. And so over time, you get into another situation and another relationship, and you continue to make the same mistakes, and you continue these same patterns, and you continue these same things. And you're like, man, things are just not working out. But eventually, you get to a point where you say, all right, I'm not going to continue to allow those past traumas to affect me in such a way that it continues to keep me down. How do I build myself up? How do I put in the work? And that's when I found it. It was an organization called Transformation Academy. And if you don't know, it's a life coaching organization who help you get your life coaching certificates. And so I went to Transformation Academy, just trying to figure out how I can heal. And what I found was, in doing the work, in following this process that they put forth for me, And as I started taking these courses, I started realizing that, man, I was not okay mentally. I thought I was, right? I thought I was this great guy. I thought even though I was honest with everybody, that I was treating everybody with this certain level of respect. But really what I noticed was I only wanted them to see the person that I wanted them to see, which was not the true version of me. And so I had to really sit down and do the work. I had to rip this thing apart. I had to literally go back into my subconscious mind, and I had to figure out, where did it start? Where did these negative thoughts start? Who put these thoughts in my head? Was it me? Was it the people around me? Who was it? What was it? Why am I here? Why do I keep faltering? Why do I keep falling? And in the midst of this time, I noticed that my life was just going. It was just passing by. Time was going super quick. It was almost like a blur. And I'm experiencing growth during this time. And I didn't even realize I was growing. I'm just doing the work. And ultimately, once I finished the courses, say, yay, you're a life coach. You got the certificates. Woo. And what I noticed is, as I was growing, people started to fall off. People see me grow. They see me become a different person. And in the midst of me becoming a different person, I saw people start to look at me different. People didn't like the new person that I was becoming, which is okay. I had to learn that. I had to learn that who was on this ride with me so far, eventually they would have to go. Whether it be them leaving on their own, whether it be a higher power pulling them away from me, or whether it be me pulling myself away from that situation. I had to go. And so here it is, me, Daryl Turner, the purpose-driven quiet beast. And the reason for that name is a little bit of what I explained to you guys. The reason why I call myself the purpose-driven quiet beast is because it took a lot for me to really realize how impactful my words are. It really took me a while to see my own impact on people's lives when I would talk to them and motivate them and inspire them with my words. And I would say, man, there's something here. There's something inside of me that feels good when I see people do well, when I see people grow. And so purpose driven is for me to help people find out who they really are. And the quiet beast is really helping me help people find out what to do in those quiet seasons of their life. Once transition happens, once those things start to be pulled away, like I talked about earlier, once you have overcome that obstacle, once you have lost that person that you love, once you have lost that job that you love, once you have experienced death, or somebody close to you dying, once you have experienced divorce, I've been through all these things. Once you experience that, and you are going through the process of healing, what is it that you have to do to find out exactly what you're supposed to be doing on this earth? Who are you? That's why I call myself the purpose-driven quiet beast, because I help people find who they are through the quiet season of their life after the transition happens. And I don't know about you, but I do believe in God, and I do believe in Jesus Christ. Now, some of you, if you're of a different religion, different mindset, that's okay, because you have to have a belief in something, regardless of what that belief is. My belief just so happens to be Jesus Christ. And so following the Bible helped me a lot too. So it wasn't just Transformation Academy that helped me through this. It was actually finding God throughout this process. And what I noticed was as I started getting more and more and more into my word and reading a little more of the Bible and trying to figure out what God has for me, I started to realize that I'm not as cold as I used to be. Emotions affect me differently. I allow myself to feel those emotions, those same emotions that I had hidden and put under the rug, as I said earlier, those same emotions, they affected me differently. They affected me differently. They started, I started crying about things that I never cried about before. Those people who I've lost, my mother, when she passed away, my best friend, when she passed away, that divorce that I went through, that breakup that I went through, the loss of a child, all those things, all those things. I was just so cold when those things happened. And all these older emotions just started coming up and they affected me so in a bad way. And so I just wanted to introduce myself to you guys, to the world. This is why I became a life coach. And this is why I call myself the purpose driven quiet beast. I don't know if this was effective enough or explain who I am enough, but what I will say is on this podcast, there's going to be some really, really great things that you can grasp from. And so that's why I'm excited to start this process with you guys, because it's not just about me. And one of the things that I always say, because I stand by it, is the quiet is not punishment, it's preparation. That's all I got for you guys this week. Look, the Purpose Driven Quiet Beast podcast is off and running. I would love for you guys to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Share it. Please share it. Comment on it. Make sure you throw them likes up right now. I just started this. So yes, we don't have a lot of views, but I'm looking to get over 5,000 views, or excuse me, 5,000 followers by the end of the year. And next year, we're going to be on our way to 10,000 followers and so on and so on. But I hope you guys are on this ride with me, and I can't wait to see you on the next podcast. That's all I got. Peace, love, boom. I'm out. Thank you again for listening to me. I'm out. Bye.